Hello there. Pro-British politicians in Northern Ireland have long had a thorn in the side with the Brexit rules for the British region of the Emerald Isle. Now they have failed with a lawsuit against it at Great Britain's Supreme Court. The UK Supreme Court has upheld the legality of the Northern Ireland Protocol. So, no matter what the High Court said before, judges in London on Wednesday unanimously dismissed an appeal against the text by pro-British unionists, ending months of challenges in the British judiciary. The plaintiffs saw Northern Ireland's position within the United Kingdom threatened by the protocol agreed in the Brexit agreement with the EU. The plaintiffs had already been dismissed in June 2021 in the first instance and in March 2022 on appeal by the Supreme Court in Belfast in Northern Ireland. Unionists were particularly concerned about the protocol's customs provisions, which create a de facto maritime border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK, but just for goods and nothing else. In their complaint, they had argued that checks between Northern Ireland and Great Britain violated the 1800 Union Treaty, which united the kingdoms of Ireland and Britain. The Northern Ireland Protocol is also not compatible with the 1998 Good Friday Agreement from their point of view. The Northern Ireland Protocol in the Brexit agreement negotiated between London and Brussels stipulates that the British region of the Emerald Isle will remain part of the European Single Market and Customs Union, and this creates a de facto customs border with the rest of the UK. The regulation is also intended to secure peace in Northern Ireland and at the same time protect the European internal market. The border between Northern Ireland and EU member Ireland must remain open, so to keep up the Good Friday Agreement. The agreement ended the 3-decade conflict in Northern Ireland. Although the Northern Ireland Protocol has not yet been fully implemented due to a grace period for certain goods, it has repeatedly led to tensions that have led to new negotiations between London and Brussels over the past year. And the delays were not unanimous, they were one-sided by the British. Among other things, London is demanding that the customs checks between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK, which have been criticised by the Northern Irish Unionists, be relaxed. Great Britain also wants to limit the role of the European Court of Justice, the ECJ, as a supervisory authority. The years-long dispute between the EU and the UK over the goods checks between Great Britain and Northern Ireland might be coming to an end now. British negotiators and EU officials have reportedly achieved a breakthrough in negotiations, but not anything signed yet. Speaking to The Guardian, a senior EU official confirmed that an agreement on food and animal health checks is, close to final, as he put it. Red and green lanes are to be established for goods checks into the Northern Ireland port. Goods coming from the UK to remain in Northern Ireland would go through a green lane with less stringent controls, although the exact nature of the customs formalities is still unclear. Everything that is supposed to go south into the EU internal market will pass through the red lane. And first, the Irish broadcaster RTE reported about this. The deal would meet EU requirements that no food and animals destined for Northern Ireland could enter the EU's internal market via Ireland's land border. As early as January, the Sunak government and Brussels agreed on real-time data exchange. The latest developments are therefore raising hopes of a final agreement on the so-called Northern Ireland Protocol. Progress is being made, but difficulties remain. That is how Maroš Šefčovič, Vice President of the European Commission, referred to the talks. Both sides worked closely and constructively together. That is what he told reporters. And he said, "For us, the equation is very clear. We can get more and stronger protections. We can explore more flexibility." Customs has long been considered the area with the greatest potential for compromise as both parties have similar ideas there. In October 2020, the European Commission proposed an express lane for goods intended to remain in Northern Ireland that do not pose a risk to the EU internal market. In the meantime, this express lane has developed into the green lane. The British government has now brought up the idea of abolishing all checks on lorries that pass through this green lane. Šefčovič explained that they do not insist on the exact names, but just want to make sure that the system works. So the British want to rename it so they can say it was not the EU idea. The Northern Ireland Protocol was an integral part of the Brexit deal signed by Boris Johnson and the EU in 2019. To avoid a hard border on the island of Ireland, the border was moved to the Irish Sea, leaving Northern Ireland subject to EU internal market and customs rules overseen by the European Court of Justice, the ECJ. In 2021, about 7 months after the end of the Brexit transition period, then Prime Minister Johnson called for a comprehensive renegotiation, shattering the possibility of a speedy agreement. The current Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, on the other hand, has pushed the agreement further. But as I said, nothing is fixed yet. Sunak still has to convince his party hardliners and Eurosceptic backbenchers to agree to the plans if there is an agreement with the EU in the end. And I'm not so very convinced that this will happen. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.